ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिसुदेशिकेन्द्रं द्वैपायनं सूत्रकृतं मुनीन्द्रं श्रीशङ्करं भाष्यकृतं यतीन्द्रं मद्देशिकञ्चापि नमामि विद्यै। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितप्रज्ञानगणः प्रत्यगर्तो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दाय तपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोण तथा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णाः खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थघण्टोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। So pranams everyone. So last couple of weeks we had seen the summary, or we had seen the Gita Dhyana Slokas, the meanings for the Gita Dhyana Slokas. And we saw Gita has got 18 chapters and it's got 700 slokas. These 18 chapters are broadly classified into 3 parts. The first 6, the second 6 and the last 6. The first 6 primarily talks about the self, then it talks about karma yoga, and it talks about Ishvara Anugraha. Now the second 6 is, or the second Sharkam we say, that talks about Ishvara, the nature of Ishvara, and then it is also talks about the sadhana, the upasana. Basically, the first 6 it was karma yoga, the second is upasana, and then the third is, it talks about the practice of understanding the Ishvara, nature of Ishvara. So we will not be going from the first chapter onwards. For this session, we would be starting with the 13th chapter. And within the 13th chapter, Sloka number 8. The reason being, in the 13th chapter, Sloka number 8 to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those 5 slokas talk about values. Values that are mandatory, that are necessary for one to have, for us to be able to understand this knowledge, assimilate this knowledge. This is kind of the step 1. The whole spiritual journey is about changing oneself. It is not about changing the world. One has to change oneself. And for that, the first and foremost is there are some key or important values that one needs to assimilate, one needs to bring into the personality of oneself for us to be able to get the real benefit out of this whole spiritual journey. And this sloka, this is the 13th chapter. The 13th chapter is also called as Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Yoga means, in this case, it's a topic. So 18 chapters, each one is called as a yoga. Yoga in this context is called as topic. And Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. So Bhagavan actually talks about 6 principles there in this chapter. He talks about Kshetram, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, Jneyam, Purusha and Prakriti. There are 6 topics that Bhagavan discusses there, out of which we are going to only see those 5 slokas pertaining to the topic called as Jnanam. Jnanam in this context are the qualities that one needs to imbibe, what we call as spiritual knowledge friendly virtues. So to get any spiritual knowledge, we will have to have certain virtues, and those virtues are being talked here. So this is what we will be focusing in the next few classes. So we will be covering 13th chapter, sloka number 8. In some of the books, the first, in the 13th chapter, the first sloka should be Arjuna's question. In some of the books, the Arjuna's question would have been ignored, could have been ignored. In that case, then this sloka is sloka number 7. If there is Arjuna's question, then we are talking about sloka number 8. So Bhagavan is explaining Jnanam. Jnanam in this context, as I said, the Jnana sadhanas. Sadhana meaning any kind of spiritual practice. And in this case, these are virtues. What Bhagavan says is, if somebody has these virtues, then the self-knowledge or moksha is very easy to attain. With these virtues, Aham Brahmasmi can go in easily. Tattvamasi can be understood easily. And in this section, Bhagavan is giving 20 virtues, 20 spiritual knowledge friendly virtues. These are values, and when we say these are values, these are the values that we will have to cultivate. And any opposite of these values, we will have to discard them. If we have it in ourselves, we will have to discard those opposites. And remember, any kind of negative emotion that we have in ourself, in our personality, that negative emotion, if we have within ourselves, like a krodham, dvesham, which is anger, hatred, for anybody or anything, it will not just, it does not just not help the spiritual journey, it will also pull us down. these emotions actually, these negative emotions actually destroy ourselves first before it destroys others. These negative emotions are just like an acid. Acid has to be put in a container. Acid first destroys the container before it destroys the one on which it is poured. So it's as good as an acid. And why are these? So in this section, as I said, Bhagavan gives 20 important virtues. And why do we need these values? Why do we need these virtues? Just like physical body has to be maintained. We have to give good food to the body. We'll have to give proper exercise. Because if not, the body will be subject to disease. If we don't take care of our body, the body will get a disease, get some illness. That is with regards to the physical body. Similarly, with regards to the subtle body, mind is an important component. Mind is an important component of the subtle body. And similarly for the mind has to be taken care. And why? How do we take care? The mind has to be cleansed. The mind has to be clean. Just like physical body, we clean through bath every day, through a shower. Similarly, the mind also has to be cleaned. The mind also has to be disciplined. We have alarm clocks to wake us up in the morning to get discipline. Similarly, the mind also has to be disciplined. The mind has to be controlled. The mind has to be maintained. So these values are actually for helping us maintain our mental wellness. So these are, and what we are going to discuss, these are nothing but emotions. We will be discussing some emotions. We will be discussing certain thoughts. We will be discussing certain habits that we have to cultivate. We'll discuss about certain attitude that we need to bring in our life, and some of the virtues that we will have to imbibe. So it could be emotions, thoughts, habits, attitude, or virtue. They are also called, in spiritual terms, they can also be called as dharma. These Vedanta friendly virtues can also be called as dharma. Because only with this prepared mind, only with this cleansed mind, only with this disciplined mind, only with this controlled mind, Vedanta can go in. Otherwise, Vedanta will be just like any other subject for us. For Vedanta to make a change in our lives, we need to have a change in our mind. We need to have a clean mind. Otherwise, it will be just like any other physics or chemistry or English or anything that we study. It could be only a third party knowledge, third person knowledge. It would probably never be part of our personality. Another thing to note here is Vedantic knowledge. Not many people would be able to come to Vedantic knowledge also, because an unprepared mind, an uncultivated mind, or an unfit mind, it will resist this knowledge. It will resist this Vedantic knowledge. That mind will try to find fault with Vedanta itself, will not accept, will give reasons why it is not relevant. So even if we hear, listen, it will not accept. It will say that it is not good for me. So even if the mind receives the knowledge, it will not be assimilated into the personality. And remember, any kind of unassimilated knowledge, it is like poison. Just like an undigested food becomes a problem to the body. In the same way, an unassimilated knowledge will also become like poison, because the same values we will try to interpret it differently. We will try to use these values to justify our irrational behavior. So we'll have to be clear. A clean mind, a cultivated mind, a fit mind is necessary. Shastra says, anabhyase visham shastram. Anabhyase visham shastram. Ajirnam bhojanam visham. So, anabhyase, if we are not practicing shastras, it turns into poison. In the same way as ajirnam bhojanam visham. And undigested food becomes like a poison to the body. So these virtues which we are going to discuss, unless these virtues are made part of our personality, moksha is not achievable. Moksha requires these values to be assimilated. And these values are something that we will probably know easily. I mean, we will be able to relate to each one of them. It's not something difficult, different, or new. These are positive values. They will help us first. All these positive values will help us. Not just spiritually, even for materially speaking also. It will help us. It will help us first, and once we have assimilated these values, these values will also help the people around us. So it's very important. Remember, again, we are going to discuss only what these values are. We will also discuss certain other things. But it is, unless it is practiced, unless you do an abhyasam, that will not help. Because knowledge on these virtues, does not give that experience. It needs to be practiced. Knowledge alone does not give us experience. I read on how to drive a car. That doesn't mean that I'll be able to drive a car. I need to practice that. I can read about swimming, how to get into the water, how to turn my head, all those things. But unless I practice, it will not help. In the same way, the values that we are going to discuss, we will have to practice. So the question is, how to cultivate these values? The next question is, how do I cultivate these values? First, we are going to discuss about 13 different points. 13 points we'll see on how to cultivate these values. You may want to take note of how to cultivate these values. Number one, first one, keep an open mind. It's easy to advise others. We can always advise others, that will come naturally to us. But we will not follow them. Reason being, our intellect will be covered with delusion. We lie to ourselves that we don't need this value, or we are already following this value, or we will not even reflect on what we are doing to say whether we have this value or not. And it's easy to probably, whenever these values are discussed, it is always easy to reflect, or it is always to see, judge others is easy. Whether this person is following that, whether my spouse is following it, my family members, my in-laws, my boss, we always look to judge others. First and foremost is to keep an open mind and reflect. That's number one. Number two, avoid non-acceptance. Whenever a new truth is seen by mind, whenever some new knowledge is seen by mind, there is always a resistance. Because so far we have seen it differently, we are not willing to accept it. So it is, generally speaking, we say this will not work. This value is not for me, or this value it will not work in this Kali Yuga, or this value will not work in corporate world, this value will not work with my in-laws, this work values will not work with people around me who are all negative and bitter and all those things. So we will always try to resist, avoid that. That is the second point we have to know. So keep an open mind, avoid non-resistance. If somebody points out something on to us, generally speaking, as any human being or any person, we will tend to get angry. Who are you to find fault with me? Are you correct? Are you right? But as a spiritual seeker, our tendency or our attitude should be to say, okay, let me reflect on it. Do I really have it? Is there something that I should change? That open mind and this non-resistance is important. That is the second principle or second thing that we have to remember if we want to really cultivate these values. 2. The third thing is Artha Darshanam. Artha Darshanam, we say, is the benefit of having this value. Benefit of having this value in a long term, how am I going to benefit? We will have to see the benefit. Because we generally don't do anything without having any benefit. What is the value of a value? We will see that. We'll have to see, is this okay? This is going to help me in the long term. I should be able to see the benefit. I should be able to think. I should be able to ponder and say, okay, I really think this is going to help. I have to convince myself. I have only then with conviction I will be able to follow that value. So that is 3. 4th is Anartha Darshanam, we can say, or Dosha Darshanam. It is the opposite. If I don't have this value, what is the problem that I am going to have? What is the issue of not having this value? What am I going to lose if I don't have this value? That I should reflect as well. And if I see, okay, the loss is heavy, it is in my interest to follow this value. So that is another way for us to get conviction to follow this value. The 5th one is Satsangam. Satsanga is been every spiritual book or everywhere you would see Satsangam is very important. The association of the people around me, of the books I read. The association is not just the people. The books I read, the television or the movies or the series or the entertainment things that I watch, the things that I hear, listen, everything can be classified under Satsangam. Every Sangam. So we'll have to have Satsanga. So we'll have to read the books of, spiritual masters. We'll have to read, if not their books, at least about their lives, because we will seek motivation through that. We even having a photograph of the guru, of the spiritual masters, of some, having some motivation by looking at the pictures. So Satsanga is important. Then Sixth one is Pariharam. Pariharam means, suppose if I take a value and that value is about bringing about a habit, and if I don't follow that regularly, then I should be in a position to say, okay, if I don't follow this, I should give myself kind of a self-punishment. That I shouldn't, okay, self-punishment may not be only physical. Like, okay, I should be skipping, I should not be having coffee, or I should not be having that sweet, or my something that I should be punished for not following it. That's Pariharam. Seventh one is the opposite, gifting, self-gifting. Basically have a goal, and then once you achieve, pamper yourself. Okay, I have achieved that goal, so I'll pamper myself for a small gift. So that is number 7. Number 8, we can have one thing we have to understand. If we want to follow, we need to take a sankalpa. Sankalpa is basically telling ourselves that I am going to do this. It's like writing in a piece of paper, or proclaiming to our Ishta Devata, saying that I'm going to, from today onwards, I'm going to do this. Please help me achieve. I need your guidance, I need your help, I need your support for me to be able to be in this path. So having that sankalpa, take that sankalpa. So we can take sankalpa one by one. Okay, I'm not going to, all these 20 values, I will not be able to follow immediately. So I will take one by one. So this month, my focus would be on one of these values. Next month, another value. In that manner, we can follow. So that is sankalpa. The next one, the 9th one. For me to be able to follow, for me to be able to not falter when I am following this, I have to take precaution. Avadhanam. Avadhanam is very important, precaution. Suppose I decide not to talk ill of others. I've decided not to talk ill of others. Then I should avoid getting into a group which generally talks about others. I should not get into any kind of gossip group, because the moment I go there, even if I try to keep quiet, people will put words into my mouth and they will make me speak ill of others. So I should take precautions. So that is another one that I have to understand. Precaution, taking avadhana. Next one is Sahaya and Vaishanam. Sahaya and Vaishanam is 10th one. That is, I am using one value to cultivate another. For example, as I said, the same example. If I say, I decide not to go for gossip, I decide not to go for this gossip meet, then it will also help me not talking ill of others also, because I basically, by not going for gossip, I'm avoiding the other thing also. So other thing is, I want to do puja every day, for example, if I decide to do that. So I decide to wake up early. If I wake up early, then waking up early is a good thing. I am having time for doing puja is another. So this is called as Sahaya and Vaishanam. Then 11th one is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Pratipaksha Bhavana means doing the opposite. Understanding our limitations and basically working on it. For example, we say Asankalpat Kama Jayet. That is, if I do not want any new desires, then I should not bring that into my mind again and again. I should not give it the sankalpam. I should not have any sankalpam on that. If I have lobham means greed. If I have lobham, and to overcome this lobham, to remove this thing, what I should do? I should do more and more dhanam. Force myself to do more and more dhanam. By doing more and more dhanam, I will be able to reduce my lobham. So, pratipaksha bhavana, doing the opposite. This is 11. 12th one is dhyanam, meditation, value meditation. We have discussed this in Introduction to Vedanta. It is one of those 4 types of meditation we saw. The 4 meditation types are concentration meditation, expansion meditation, value meditation, and the self meditation. So here the value meditation is important. Dhyanam, again, this word is very misunderstood. I mean, it's got multiple meanings. Like bhakti is also got multiple meanings. So meditation, we have to, when we say meditation here, value meditation, we have to meditate on the benefits of it, the benefits of this value, the glory of this value. And initially we may have to fake that value within ourselves, fake it to make it, as they say. I may not have it, but I force it on myself. And initially it might look as if I am faking it, but with the idea that I am actually making it. I don't fake it because I want to get a good name from others. I fake it because I want to bring this as a value in me, as a value. So that fake it and make it. So this is the 11th one. Then 12th one, which is very important, prarthana. Prarthana means seeking Ishvara's grace, seeking Ishvara anugraha, seeking Bhagavan's help, talking to our Ishta Devata, able to connect with our Ishta Devata, seeking his help. It brings out our inner feelings. When we face failures, when we are stressed out, when we are tired, only Bhagavan's strength will take us through. So having that connect with Ishvara, having that prarthana, doing that prarthana, seeking his limitless grace is important. So these are the 13 ways or 13 tips that I can say that can help us follow these values. And as I said, from Sloka 8 to Sloka 12, Bhagavan talks about this Jnanam. Jnanam means Jnana Sadhana virtues. Self-knowledge is very easy to attain. Self-knowledge is very easy. Logically, we can definitely prove that we are not the body, we are not the mind. Using Drigdrishya Viveka, we can say I am not the body, I am not the mind, and I am that awareness principle. All those things I will be able to logically understand. But to be able to make that knowledge and be able to make it in such a way that this knowledge is at the back of my mind when I interact with the world is the difficult thing. And for that, with these virtues, I would be able to do that. So as I said, there are some values that need to be cultivated, and there are some habits or attitude that we will have to discard. So both will be discussed. And why certain habits have to be discarded, I already told. Anger, hatred, for example, they destroy us before it destroys others. So this is very important. In the Patanjali Yoga Shastras, there are already 10 values that were given, and which we had discussed in our introduction to Vedanta also. We saw that Yama and Niyama. The Patanjali Ashtanga Yogas, you had Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Those Ashtanga. There we had Yama and Niyama. Yama are those that we have to live, and Niyama are those that we have to follow. And we saw that Ahimsa, Yama we had 5. Ahimsa, Satyam, Asteyam, Brahmacharyam, and Aparigraha. And in Niyama we saw that as Saucham, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhanani. So those were the 10 Yama and Niyama, we saw that. The next question that will come to mind is, why do I need to follow? Why do I need to follow these virtues? Of course, one is for the spiritual benefit. But more importantly, these are the universal laws. These are, as I called earlier, these are dharma. Dharma is, if I violate this dharma, I hurt myself. It is as good as if I have to scratch my back, then because my back is itching, and then I go to a big tree with thick barks, sharp barks, and I try to rub my body against it. What will happen? Sooner or later the itching might go, but with itching gone, I would have redness, rashes, irritation, and all kinds of problems. It will be burning when I actually rub myself against the sharp barks of a large tree. So, same manner, if I violate dharma, initially it might look as if it is giving me a short-term gain, but in the long term, violation of dharma will lead to problems for oneself. That we have to understand. Why? Because the world is a bank. Whatever I deposit in this bank, I will withdraw one day. Whatever I sow, I reap. Karma works. Whatever I do today, I will be getting it one day. And these are dharma. If I follow, I am good. If I violate dharma, it will hurt me back. So, with this introduction, we will go to the Sloka number 8. Chapter 13, Sloka number 8. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, it says. Now, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Now, this is another thing, so which we saw. Bhagavan means what? Who is Bhagavan? Of course, in this Gita, Bhagavan is Krishna. But who is Bhagavan? Ishvara as we call him. Who is a Bhagavan? Shastra says Bhagavan is one who has got 6 Aishwaryams in full. 6 things in full, Purnatvam. Those 6 attributes, if a person has it in full, complete, then that entity or that person is a Bhagavan. And what does that sloka says? Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya yashasriyaha jnana vairagyyoschaiva shannama bhaga itirana. Aishwaryasya samagrasya. Aishwarya. Samagrasya means in full. Samagrasya means in full. What are the things that needs to be in full? Aishwaryam. Aishwaryasya samagrasya. Aishwaryam means rulership. Rulership. The ability to rule over others. That Bhagavan has over this world. He's got the world in his control. The rulership is, we also have some bit of rule. We are a boss in our office, there is an employee, so we have some limited rulership. At various places, we have some limited rulership. But Bhagavan is samagrasya. He's got complete rulership. That is number 1. Number 2 is Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya yashasriyaha. Dharma. Dharma means what in this context is punyam. Bhagavan is full of punya. Without an iota of papa. Again, for us also, we also have done some punya. Otherwise, we would not be even in this class, sitting and listening. We will not be in this path. We will not have had such a good life. So there is some punya that we have and we are still doing. But we also do papas. So it's not full, only complete punya. Bhagavan is one who is doing, who has got complete punya. Then yashas. Yashas means yashaha, fame. Again, we also have some fame. We are also known in limited circles, in our neighbors, in our industry, corporate world, wherever. We have some bit of fame. Again, Bhagavan has complete fame. Shriyaha. Shrihi means what? Shriya means wealth. Bhagavan has unlimited wealth. We also have some wealth, but it's not complete. Then the last 2. Jnana vairagyoschaiva. Jnana and vairagya. Jnana means knowledge. Complete knowledge. And then vairagya. Vairagya means dispassion. We already saw. No likes and dislikes. No ragadvesha. So for us, the first 4 we may have some bit. We will also be having some Aishwaryam, some Dharmam, some Yasham, some Shri. But this Jnana and Vairagya which we talk about, we may not have them. Bhagavan not only has that, he has that completely. For the other 4, we may have something not in full. 5 and 6 is a big question mark. For Bhagavan, he is all the 6. So that is when somebody is called a Bhagavan, or he who has all these 6 in full is Bhagavan. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So Bhagavan Vacha, Krishna says. Here we are talking about the 13th chapter. As I said, 13th chapter is Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Okay. Atatrayodashodhyayah. So we are in the 13th chapter. Trayodasha Adhyaya chapter. Okay, we'll go on. We'll do this sloka. Amanitvamadambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyamaatma vinigrahah. Amanitvamadambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyamaatma vinigrahah. So this is, in this sloka, Bhagavan is giving one manito adamitam ahimsa kshanti arjavam 5, 6, 7, 9 virtues. In this sloka itself, Bhagavan is giving 9 virtues. The first virtue is, the first and foremost is amanitvam. Amanitvam, in English we can say humility. In other words is vinayam, vinayaha. Or amanitvam is freedom from manitvam. Manitvam means self-conceit, self-glorification. Or in other words we say self-admiration. Looking upon oneself as a great person. In Tamil we say garvam, or we can also say superiority complex. This, he says, do not have it. Bhagavan says, do not have this garva, do not have this superiority complex. Practice humility. Do not have this self-glorification. And this is actually a Shishya's primary quality. When we talk about spiritual pursuit, a Shishya should be with Vinaya, should be humble, should be with humility. And what's of humility? When do we generally need to be humble? When should we not feel garva? Especially when we do dhanam. When we do dhanam, immediately a superiority complex comes in. I am giving. I give this to you. I feel good because I am giving. Or it could be out of the kulam. I come from this family. My family is such a great family. My great grandfather was with this king. That kind of kulam. Or it could come out of vidya, education. Oh, I am a PhD. Or I have done from this particular prestigious university. Or I have got this pedigree. I have got this degree. So this vidya, I know this, I know that. Or it could be even in the spiritual pursuits, it could come out of tapas. Oh, I have got this ability to, I do this puja for 3 hours every day. I can sit and do japa continuously. All those things. Or it could come out of something which is very fleeting. This garva can come for even something as fleeting as youth. I have age on my side. I am young. I am strong. Or beauty. Beauty is not going to last forever. Everybody, we will get old. We will get wrinkles. So, but even for this fleeting things, beauty, we might feel this garva. Or we could cut garva off out of power, whatever power I have. Oh, I am a so and so. I know so many people. If I go there, they will take care of me. I have when I went there, they had accorded me the greatest respect. I was taken in a car. I was given darshan to this temple because I got that power. Or it could be out of my position. Oh, I am actually a CEO of this company. Or I'm working in a big company. That position. Or simply because of the standard of living, I have a car, I have a big car, I have helpers at home, I have a bungalow. So the standard of living, it all, we may not even know these things, that it exists in our mind. So we'll have to reflect, we'll have to see where we are feeling this, and we'll have to understand that is going to drag us down. That self-importance, or I would say the self-glorification, the self-admiration will drag us down. And Bhagavan says, do not have it. And why is this a first virtue? So Bhagavan, in the entire Gita, this is the first time he talks about virtues. Until 13th chapter, he has not talked about virtues at all. And 13th chapter, first time he talks about virtue, and the first virtue he picks up is amanitvam. Why? Because Vedanta looks upon this self-conceit, this self-admiration, this self-glorification as the biggest obstacle to gaining knowledge. Because when we accomplish anything in any field, even a little bit of accomplishment, the society will admire us. The moment the society admires us, we begin to admire ourselves. We relish that. We revel in that admiration. We like it. Although outwardly we may be like, oh, no, I am okay. But internally we relish, we admire, we revel, we feel happy, we feel good. So this will actually drag us down. Having power is not bad. Having this beauty, having this youth, having this power, position, all those things are, but Vedanta doesn't say that don't have them. We'll have to understand this clearly. Doing dhanam, doing this, having this knowledge, doing tapas, Vedanta doesn't say don't have it. Or having a car. No, Vedanta doesn't say don't have those cars. It only says have them, but do not see yourself as superior. Don't have that complex that I am superior. We have seen in Puranas also, Bhima, there have been stories where Bhima actually was proud of his strength. And he used to walk in that forest when, a monkey lay on the floor, on the way with the tail on the path. And he will ask the monkey to move. The monkey will say, I am too old, can you lift the tail and throw it away so that I throw across and then you can walk past. And he wouldn't be able to do that. And then he realizes that monkey was none other than Hanuman. So Hanuman basically said, Bhima, do not have this garva on your strength. Don't feel mighty that you are too powerful, you are the strongest. Same thing with Narada. Narada was having this feeling that he was the greatest bhakta. So Bhagavan gave him a test and brought him back to understand that you are not the greatest bhakta, don't have this superiority complex. So Bhagavan, in this Puranas we have all these stories to teach us this lesson of amanitvam. And why this self-conceit is a trap? Why is it big trap? Number one, we will lose the reality. We will lose reality in the sense we expect respect. The moment I feel that I am actually great, I start expecting respect from people. And when people don't give it to me, my mind gets disturbed. Because not everybody is going to behave the same. Some people might respect me, some people may not respect me. We have to understand that. So the moment somebody does not respect me, I start getting disturbed. So that is number one. We will lose reality. Number two, it causes addiction. You see, admiration or this is like a drug. It's very, we need it more and more. The moment somebody admires, we would like to hear more. So sometimes we go in front of them, or sometimes we actually talk to them only to get some good words about ourselves. So it's like we do it for self-glorification. So third is, once I start enjoying this admiration of others, I start blowing my own trumpet. I am the center of attention. So I get carried away. I just go, we just go into a delusion. We go into a delusion and we forget some important facts. What did I really achieve? Whatever I achieved, whether I can take full credit for that. Because in many cases, in 99% of the cases, whatever we have achieved in our life, whether be it in education, in our job, in whatever it is, in our house or whatever, there are so many factors involved in it. It's not just us who is responsible for achieving things, but we want to take full credit for them. Suppose organizing an event, right? We know that there are so many things that are involved, and I play something on the instrument or whatever, and I want to take credit for that. There are so many things. Even if it is our own talent which has got us fame, we have to understand we need to take it as a gift of Ishvara. In fact, Bhagavan says in chapter 10, he will talk about Vibhuti Yoga, where he will say every talent that you see, everything that you good in you see is actually my Vibhuti. And it is impermanent. You have to understand that. So we have to say. That's the third one. Fourth thing is, whenever I am having this superiority complex or this self-conceit, that and bhakti cannot exist. Because I start taking credit for things. I think I am the greatest. I am the best. I don't take it as Ishvara's anugraha. I don't give that credit to Ishvara. So my door of devotion is closed. I forget Ishvara. Remember, only when we are in trouble, we will try to remember Ishvara more. When we are happy, do we remember Ishvara? Many a times, no. We want to take credit for whatever we had done or whatever we had not done also. But only when we are in problems, we tend to remember Ishvara. So when we are doing well also, we will have to remember, oh Ishvara, thanks for your prasada. The fifth problem that I have, I can never admire another person. When I am thinking that I am good, I am great, I cannot believe that there can be somebody who is better than me. I want to be the center of all admiration. So the ability to come and praise others, I will lose that. And not only I lose that, it will automatically lead this to jealousy. It will automatically slowly lead me to anger. So all those negative qualities will start coming in. So this is very important. Amanitvam, humility. So scriptures say, cultivate humility. Otherwise, you will be humbled by Ishvara. And remember, every conceited person, whoever thinks that they are good, in some place or other, will be humiliated by some other person. There cannot be a time when there cannot be somebody who has been completely always by all people being respected. So humility. How to cultivate this amanitvam? 3 things. Whatever we gain, whatever we have, remember it is all temporary. It is all temporary. Remember that. We saw in introduction to Vedanta also, the Artha, Kama, Dharma has got those doshas. Dukkha Mishritatvam, Atripti Karatvam, Bandha Karatvam. And there we saw that all these things are temporary. Either we will leave them or it will leave us. I am in a position today as CEO, I will have to retire one day. I am in this house, either this house will be gone or I will be gone. So everything is temporary. Second thing, how to cultivate it? Do not compare within the peer group. If you want to aim higher. So aim higher, which means not for jealousy, not out of jealousy, but spiritually I want to aim higher. And the third thing is, as I said, devotion to Ishvara. Ishvara is important. Devotion to Ishvara is important. Remembering Ishvara, taking everything as Ishvara Prasada is important. So that way we will be able to cultivate amanitvam. Be humble. That is the first value. More values we will see in the next class. Any questions, comments? Okay. If not, we will see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah.